With these new rankings, the committee is straight up telling us we still think Florida State, with their backup and mediocre quarterback Tate Rodemaker, is still better than Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama. And that right there alone is enough for me to sit up here and say that this committee doesn't know what they're doing. They've lost all credibility in my book. Maybe you like them, but to me, they've lost all credibility, and it's a bunch of nerds that don't know the game. Thank you. It's not called being punished, quote unquote, LMAO. It's simply saying you're not one of the best 4 teams. Thank you, which they aren't. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, last night at 6 p.m. Central Time Zone, at least for me, the new CFP Rankings, they officially came out, and I'm just going to let it be known right now at the very beginning of this video, these are single-handedly the worst rankings the committee has ever put out, number one, and number two, they're straight up bullcrap and they're hypocritical. We'll get to all that in just a second, trust me. If you enjoy Matt rage and going on rants and tangents, this is going to be the perfect video for you because I can feel it, it's coming. It just pisses me off, the ignorance of the committee and the lack of just plain and simple football knowledge. And I tweeted this out last night. This is what you get when you let nerds, capital N, capital E, capital R, capital D, capital S, nerds do the rankings. They try to overcomplicate it. It's not complicated. At the end of the day, it should go, okay, who do I think's better, this team or that team? That's it. That's all you should do. But no, they try to overcomplicate it, and even with their own logic, it's flawed because, like I said, they're hypocritical. Okay, Matt, calm down. We haven't even got into what we really need to get into. In today's video, obviously, if you haven't put two and two together, we're going to talk about these rankings, but also remember, I come out with my own rankings, and I'm going to show you where I have these teams, and I'm going to show you my entire top 10. And also in this video, we're going to take a look and see what some of you guys had to say in the comment section of my live reaction to the rankings. This is the one and only topic we're going to be going over because I think it's that important. We're not doing no intro, none of that. We're getting straight into it. It's relatively simple. If you like college football, you want to be a part of a college football community, we'd love to have you here. So yeah, consider subscribing. If you don't want to subscribe or join, that's cool too. Now with that being said, so you can get somewhat of a perspective on my idea and thought process, let me show you my top 10. If you are new to our channel, here's how I do my rankings. At the end of the day, if I think Ohio State would beat Georgia, I don't care what the strength of schedule. No. I don't care about any of that. I'm ranking Ohio State ahead of Georgia. Vice versa for every single team. Now, I don't think Ohio State's better than Georgia. I was just giving you an example. I do want to throw this in there, though. I do take into account resume and record a little bit, but I'm talking about at the end of the day, if I think one team's 1A and I think another team's 1B, I got to go with who would I pick tomorrow in the game. With that being said, let me show you 10 and 9. I mean, nobody's going to argue about this because there's a huge margin from number 9 to number 8. We got Ole Miss. I jumped them up to number 10. Why not? They look pretty good. In Missouri, they stay at 9 for me. At number 8, they do not move. I still have the Seminoles. It's really self-explanatory. I think Florida State is a really good team. They're just not great anymore. With Jordan Travis, they were great. Without them, they're not. And we have a big Seminole fan base on the channel. It's really a love-hate relationship. I think they just straight up hate me, but it's how I feel about the team. They're not great anymore. And we'll get to this a little later in the video, a little, I guess you'd say, foreshadowing here. A lot of Florida State fans, they've been tweeting at me, well, Matt, Florida State, if they went out, they deserve to be in the playoff. You can't take that away from them, and I agree. But the key word all these Florida State fans continue to tweet at me is deserve. I'll tell you right now, if Florida State goes undefeated, they do deserve to be in the playoff. But that's not my rankings. My rankings are the best teams. And going by the committee's logic, they have stated this. This is in their handbook or whatnot. They don't want the 4 most deserving teams. They want the 4 best teams. It's flawed logic. You can't say I want the 4 best teams and you still put Florida State in there. I'm sorry. Anyways, continuing along here at number 7, I have D-ranked Washington. I wound up moving Oregon ahead of Washington because they just look so impressive in that Oregon State win. Ahead of Washington, I have the little bro, Ohio State. I have to say this over and over because they're going to ask questions. I have Ohio State ahead of Washington because I'd pick them to beat them tomorrow. At number 5, I've jumped them up. Of course, I really like them. They're playing good football. I got Oregon. This one was close for me. I thought about putting Ohio State at 5, but I think Oregon, they're a slightly better team at this current moment in time. Ahead of Oregon at 4, I have a team who's really hot and a team who has the best win in all college football, Texas. Self-explanatory. They have one loss to Oklahoma on a last-second drive, and they beat Alabama by double digits on their home field. That win just continues to look better and better and better every single week. Ahead of Texas, you've probably noticed I have not said this team, and this is the most controversial one on my list. I have Alabama. And after I posted these rankings, I did take a sneak peek at the comment section, seeing what some people were saying, and everybody and their mama, and we'll get to this in just a second, was going, Matt, How do you jump up Alabama after beating a sorry Auburn team who lost to New Mexico State and blah, blah, blah? I get it. But here's what you don't get. I didn't jump up Alabama because of the Auburn win. No. The only reason Alabama went up in these rankings, for me at least, is because I D-ranked Ohio State. That's it. That's the only reason they went up. And I'm not D-ranking Ohio State just because they lost. I D-ranked them because they don't look like a top 3 or 4 team anymore to me. To give you some context and perspective, I had Alabama at 4 last week. And last but not least, 2-1 do not move for me. I had Michigan at 2. All entire year long, everybody gave me slack for it, saying, Matt, Ohio State's going to beat Michigan. And, well, we saw it happen. Matt was right. I thought at the beginning of the year Michigan was a better team than Ohio State, and they proved it on Saturday. And per usual, they've been my number 1 team ever since the start of the season. I got Georgia. Let's check on the comment section because you know everybody is going to disagree with me, and let's see what some of you were saying. My man TJ says, shout out to TJ, always see him in the comment section, always giving out some good takes, stated, switch Texas and Alabama, and I'll be fine with this. Hey man, I have no problem with that whatsoever. If you want to put Texas ahead of Alabama, don't care. I almost put Texas at 3. I need to talk about this. I forgot to. I was so close to putting Texas ahead of Alabama, but I just didn't. I think they're 1A, 1B. If they were playing tomorrow, I would have Alabama as probably a 0.5 point favorite. This dude wrote a paragraph. We'll just read the first half of it. Got a lot of likes. This dude's Bama bias is next level. Y'all overachieved, boss. Texas beat you, but you got them ranked higher? Y'all barely won today. Barely. Due to prevent defensive mishaps. Heck, Oregon is better than Bama. Next week, Georgia put Bama to rest indefinitely. Y'all gonna get blown out bloodbath. What about that, Bama fans? What do y'all think of that? I respect your take. I respect your opinion, but obviously I strongly disagree with it. The first part of this was good. You can call me Bama boss, whatever. That's all fine and dandy. But when you start to lose credibility, at least in my eyes, is when you state that Bama's going to get blown out by Georgia. Like, what? Do you even watch college football? I mean, come on, man. If you were to sit up here and say, yeah, Georgia's going to beat Bama, no problem. But a blowout? I don't think so, Chief. William said, can you try to be somewhat unbiased? If anyone under Bama needed a miracle to beat Auburn, you would have dropped them. And, well, I guess William here is unfamiliar with rival matchups and rival weekend. You see, William, I'm not a hypocrite because remember earlier in the season when Georgia barely beat Auburn by 7 points and I didn't drop them? And what did I say? Hey, that's a rival matchup. That game's always going to be close in Jordan-Hare Stadium. Oh, right. But y'all don't want to bring that up. Come on, man. It's rival weekend. Everybody barely skimmed by their rivals. It happens every single year. There's so many replies. We could sit up here and read them all day, but we really need to get a move on because I already know this video is going to be long itself. We haven't even gotten to the CFP rankings. I'll show you one last look at my rankings, and yet again, everybody's going to give me slack for the Bama one, but here's all I'm going to say. And for all the rankings, I mean, I have teams all over the place that people don't agree with. I evaluate these teams based off of how I think they actually are right now and how they've looked the past couple of weeks. The problem is the entire college football world has been brainwashed into believing as soon as a team loses, all right, they lost, automatically got to drop them, that's it. I don't even want to evaluate the team on how they played or who they played. Like, come on, man, what are we doing? That is flawed logic. We want the 4 best teams, right? The problem is with the AP poll and the CFP rankings in the college football media world, when they do their rankings and whenever you do your rankings, you want the 4 most deserving teams. And here's the reality about all of this. I don't care if Florida State was 25-0. I ain't picking them to beat Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, or Alabama tomorrow. And guess what? Nobody part of the committee is either, and neither are any of you. Same thing with Washington, man. I ain't picking Washington to beat Texas or Alabama tomorrow. Therefore, I can't have Washington ahead of Texas or Alabama. But yet again, everybody's quick to point to, oh, well, Texas has a loss and Alabama has a loss. Okay, that means they're a terrible football team. Like, what is this logic? Anybody that brings up the one-loss argument, I automatically know you base your rankings off of deserving, not who's the best. Now, with all that being said, let's get into the CFP rankings, and we're not really going to talk about 25 through 9 because who cares? That's not why we're here. We're going to talk about their top 8. And number 8 and 7 stay the same. You got Alabama and Texas. They're giving the head-to-head to Texas. Don't really have a problem with that. At 6, the committee has Ohio State, and at 5, they have Oregon. To me, at least, that is really interesting going off of their logic, because only a few days ago, you stated Ohio State is the second best team in the nation, right? And then they proceed to lose a close game. Y'all know I'm a professional Rant hater, but still at that, they lose a close game, 6-point loss to Michigan in Michigan's home stadium. Yet again, only lost by 6, but you drop them to number 6? What? Y'all know how I feel about Ohio State. This is about as unbiased as it gets. If I'm advocating for Ohio State, you better know I mean it. And I mean this wholeheartedly. Dropping Ohio State behind Florida State and Oregon makes 0 sense whatsoever. Because originally the committee had Ohio State at number 1 over Georgia, stating, oh, well, they get the better strength of schedule and the strength of record and blah, 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 blah. Well, look at Florida State and Oregon. Ohio State still has a better strength of schedule and record, right? I just don't understand the logic. If you have Michigan at 3, okay, you think they're the third best team in the country, and Ohio State loses to the third best team in the country, how do you drop them out of the top 4? You see what I'm saying? You lost to a top 4 team. So in my humble opinion, Ohio State should not be out of the top 4 based off of their logic. Let me emphasize that. I'm going based off of their logic. Don't want y'all to get it twisted because I personally don't think Ohio State is a top 4 team at this moment in time. I have Georgia, Michigan, Alabama, Texas, and Oregon ahead of Ohio State currently. But hey, it is what it is, and we'll probably come back to that in just a second. Let's get into the top 4 though. With Washington and Florida State, I don't really have a problem with Washington being at 3 because that's going to solve itself out. They play Oregon this weekend. That's why I'm not going to harp on it too much. The Washington-Oregon thing doesn't even really amount to a hill of beans because the winner of that game is getting in, obviously. But the one that really perplexed me was the cinnamon rolls staying at number 4. Or not staying at 4, they actually went up, but I mean just staying somewhat in the top 5. Because I knew they wouldn't drop them last week because the committee has made this clear. They don't project. For example, they weren't going to drop Florida State after that injury because they're going to evaluate them, or my bad, reevaluate them based off of how Rodemaker plays in the next game against Florida. So although I knew they weren't going to drop them last week, after seeing them with their new quarterback, I thought for sure they would drop them. But they didn't. With these new rankings, the committee is straight up telling us we still think Florida State, with their backup and mediocre quarterback Tate Rodemaker, is still better than Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama. And that right there alone is enough for me to sit up here and say that this committee doesn't know what they're doing. They've lost all credibility in my book. Maybe you like them, but to me they've lost all credibility, and it's a bunch of nerds that don't know the game. Have you noticed nobody that actually keeps up with college football believes for a split second Florida State is better than Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, and Alabama? Nobody with a working brain thinks that. I don't even understand this, and I've never understood it. Why do we have these nerds and people that don't know the game making these rankings? I said it in my live reaction, we need guys like Kirk Herbstreit, the people that cover this stuff doing the rankings. And I already know you got people running to the comment section right now, Matt, you're just salty that Florida State's ranked ahead of Alabama. And no, this has nothing to do, this argument I'm giving you right now has nothing to do with Alabama. This has everything to do with, heck, we'll take Alabama out of it. Florida State shouldn't be ranked ahead of Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas. It's an absolute disgrace to the sport that you think Florida State is better than Oregon, Ohio State, and Texas. An absolute disgrace. Florida State has one of the worst strength of schedules out of everybody inside the top 8. And to go on top of that, their backup quarterback looks like a deer in headlights. Hold on. Here's what I'm going to propose to you. If Florida State played Georgia tomorrow, what do you think would happen? I guarantee you 99% of you are saying, oh yeah, Georgia's going to beat the crap out of them. Or not beat the crap out of them, but just beat them. Whereas if I were to say, hey, what if Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, or Oregon played Georgia tomorrow? Everybody would say, oh yeah, they got a better chance of beating them than Florida State. Before I just completely go off, let's check out some of the comments on the previous video because I want to see what you guys had to say. And this is my live reaction to the rankings last night. Razorback commented, I have not read this, I just see it's got a lot of likes, so I assume a lot of people agree with it. And shout out to Razorback, man, he's always commenting on the videos, leaving a good insight and perspective. Matt, the CFP rankings are not power rankings. They are based on resume and fairness. Ooh, hold on. See? No. That's not what the CFP says it's about. They have stated they don't care about fairness. It's about the 4 best teams. Anyways, continuing along here, just because they rank Team A ahead of Team B does not mean they think Team A is better. I understand what you're saying, but no, the committee has made it clear. They want the 4 best teams. See, this is flawed logic. Let me read this off, though. Not saying I agree with that method, but that's how they do it. Okay, so Razorback's just explaining to me how they do it. No. And I appreciate this comment, but I understand how they do it. I'm just harping on the fact that they have stated over the past multiple years, the past 3, 4, 5, 6 years, that they don't care about record. At the end of the day, they want the 4 best teams. That's what they have preached. If they have never preached that, I probably wouldn't be making this video right now. Thank you for the comment, but yet again, to debunk your theory on resume and fairness, I don't even think you can apply that, because if it was based on resume and fairness, wouldn't Ohio State still be ranked ahead of Oregon? Let's see what David had to say here. The hate for FSU is unreal. I'm going to address that right now. I don't hate Florida State. I don't hate them. Whether they do good in football or not, it doesn't affect my everyday life. I don't hate them. It's just people automatically assume when you say something bad about their team, and keep in mind, I don't think it's bad. It's just me being realistic that you hate them when I don't. Anyways, continuing along, I get we don't have JT, but come on, man, LMAO, this is a very good team. And you're right, they are very good, but they're not better than Alabama, Texas, Ohio State, or Oregon. Can't say we were the only team to struggle in rivalry week. I never said that, but anyways, I love how they said every other team was either a gritty win or a great win, but ours wasn't. I guess he's referring to them, because I never stated that. LMAO, Ohio State has proved you can win with a backup. Here we go. Dude, don't even try to compare that. Anyways, Tate's very good. That's just dumb. And he's going to show it this week. To sit up here and say Tate Rodemaker is very good, I just know you don't watch football, and that's just an ignorant statement. He's played one game, and he didn't even complete half of his passes. What? What is your definition of very good? I just don't understand this. What about Tate Rodemaker's performance against Florida told you he was very good? To me, I ain't going to hate on the kid. I think he's mediocre at best. That's it. I like this comment. The committee puts who is the most deserving teams up there, not the best. FSU isn't getting jumped because they are 12-0, though I wish Oregon was up there. And in the replies is what I'm talking about. But they say their mission is to put the 4 best teams in the playoff. Thank you. That's why I'm so passionate about this, because they're being hypocrites. You can't sit up here and tell me you want the 4 best teams and you base your rankings off of the best teams, not the resumes, but yet you still have Florida State at number 4. Like, what? These comments are so delusional. Punishing a team for injury is stupid. I ain't even going to read the rest of it because I want to see what people say in the comments. Okay, look at this. Thank you. It's not called being punished, quote unquote, LMAO. It's simply saying you're not one of the best 4 teams. Thank you, which they aren't. Now, if you want to change the criteria to, quote-unquote, 4 most deserving, then yeah, by all means, FSU should be top 4. But 4 best and 4 deserving are 2 totally different things. Dude, shout out to K-Star3488. Dude, best reply I've ever seen. Hold on. Clap it up. Thank you. I couldn't have said it any better myself. That is just spot on the money. He nailed it on the head. You're not being punished, and I'm not even trying to quote-unquote punish you. I'm just simply sitting up here saying you're not one of the 4 best teams. That's all there is to it. I like this comment from Matt here. He stated, I think the difficulty with Florida State is at the end of the day, they are undefeated and other teams are not. And yep, that's all it is. To me, it's not difficult because I don't base it off a record. I base it off of the best teams and best resumes combined. But for the committee, that's where they're struggling. They don't even believe Florida State is better than teams like Oregon, Texas, Ohio State, and Bama, but they're like, man, they're undefeated, so I guess we got to leave them up here. The bottom line is putting Florida State in this playoff would be the equivalent to putting Cincinnati in the playoff a couple of years ago. Y'all remember when we did that, right? Did anybody actually believe Cincinnati had a chance in the playoff? No, but it was a weird situation because you're like, well, they've won all their games, so I guess we got to throw them in there. That's how it is with Florida State. Nobody believes Florida State's one of the best 4 teams. They've just won all their games. That's all there is to it. Watch how quick. I don't think they're going to lose to Louisville because Louisville sucks. They lost to them bottom feeder in the SEC in Kentucky. But watch how quick everybody's going to switch up whenever Florida State loses, whether it's to Louisville or in the playoff. These rankings suck, and why is Ohio State ranked ahead of Texas? I don't even know. Dude, this video's already been way too long. Let me know your thoughts down below. But